Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's making a list and he's checked it twice. It's Arturo Zurita.
What's up, guys? It's not even the end of the year. It's actually already officially the beginning of the year of 2018. That means everything's completely changed. All of your mistakes completely wiped away. Everyone who was caught out in 2017 is completely fine. Trump is absolved.
Giving him a second chance, or a third, or a fifth.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a great time to be talking movies and entertainment as we start a new year. We want to look back at
this is what we live for.
That 2017 had to offer. We're doing lists. This is the listisode, as I just decided to call it in this moment. We'll be talking about our favorite movies, our favorite TV, and favorite movie moments a little bit later on in the show. But we wanted to start similarly to how we normally start with our what we've been watching and spotlight something that's not going to show up on any of our lists in this show that we wanted to look back on as something memorable from 2017 that we did spend our time on. So, Art, was there anything that jumped out to you as worth bringing up, as worth remembering about 2017?
The memes.
The memes?
A good amount of good memes that were out there. My biggest worry about the memes is that emojis stayed on the phones. And then they somehow found themselves on the big screen.
Yeah, they sneak their way into films.
It's only a matter of time until the memes find their ways into a movie. Some producers like, hey, we learned about meme culture. Let's put it in movies. And what's the issue? It takes how long for a movie to... Memes die overnight. Right? There's new memes now. You don't even understand the memes. Memes don't make sense sometimes. So that's my biggest worry for 2018 is someone bringing in memes from 2016 because someone found it out back then. In terms of movies, though, I'm not sure if this one is on your list, but I do want to talk about this is one that we've been watching for a while now. It's the end to a trilogy. It's super difficult nowadays to not only make a good trilogy, not only have a purpose for a trilogy, let's put it that way, because some of these franchises don't even have purposes anymore, but This one had a purpose, a direction, and I think a very good ending. And I'm just thinking about it. Holy smokes, there's actually two of them. One of them might actually make my list. The one I'm talking about deals with apes. War of the Planet of the Apes is not my favorite of the three. My favorite would be Dawn. Mm-hmm. It made me love Dawn more. What I always say is the best thing about a sequel is when you see a movie and all of a sudden it makes the predecessor better. It heightens everything. Everything that you saw from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes has repercussions in War, and you're watching War going like, dang, that's right. Everything that happened in that movie is impactful. Like, there was actual consequences that you're seeing in the third installment, unlike some other installments where episode 7 don't matter.
Exactly. That's the thing that a lot of people have been complaining about with some recent sequels. And, to see a movie that goes chapter after chapter and builds one on top of the other and becomes something more, that's something that has not really been mastered, I'd say, by most franchise filmmaking, but Planet of the Apes has managed to really take that task and run with it, and just create this really fully developed world, fully realized world. And I also don't, I don't know if any of those movies are among the best, 10 in any year that they were released.
Hey.
But
speak for yourself.
They're all extremely solid.
They're good,
all
yes.
Extremely watchable, and they all hold up. And I don't think you can say that about a lot of franchise entertainment. So I mean, it's totally worth keeping those movies around, mentioning them, and maybe catching up with them if you haven't seen it.
I would say I think it's the best trilogy since The Dark Knight. Now I'm speaking as what's wrapped up. There are some that are two movies. I'm looking at The Raid over there, and if The Raid comes up with a number 3, I'm gonna change that. But as of right now, a closed franchise. I think it's the best one since The Dark Knight. Toy Story's still going, and Toy Story had a longer bit, like in the span of like a 5-year. I think War has had it.
Totally.
Or Planet of the Apes.
My choice for what I've been watching from 2017 that I'm not quite ready to let go of, it's a particular episode of a TV show that's not going to end up on my best of the year list. It's the Finding Francis episode of Nathan For You.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought you were going to say something else. Can I say,
Yeah.
I just found out this was a show?
Where have you been? This is
where
season
have I
4
been?
of Nathan For You. And it's like, it's for years has been one of the best kept comedy secrets on TV. Nathan Fielder is just this comedic genius that he's your favorite comedian's favorite comedian probably right now.
That type of thing, yeah.
Where you can tell that people in comedy really love him. He's got like a small part in Tour de Pharmacy, the Andy Samberg sports parody thing on HBO. Seth Rogen and James Franco have him in a small role in The Disaster Artist. So he's popping up in all these new places. But his main thing is this show on Comedy Central, Nathan For You, where he sort of takes the idea of those I'm gonna renovate your business, I'm gonna improve what you're doing shows, like the Gordon Ramsay, I'm gonna come in and fix up your kitchen and make your restaurant good again. He uses his business degree from college to pitch eccentric ideas to businesses, small businesses that usually result in just crazy awkwardness and hilariousness. Some of the things that he's done on the show before is help a coffee shop get customers by turning it into a parody called Dumb Starbucks. He's also advertised the cheapest gas in Los Angeles for a rebate that involved hiking to the top of a mountain that was many miles away. Ridiculous things he's done on his show. But in the most recent season, he's found some new ways to innovate this format of his that's part prank show, part documentary, part just awkward interacting comedy. It's so him. So the one episode in particular that's worth talking about is a feature-length 90-minute episode called Finding Francis, where he reunites with one of the characters from an earlier episode of Nathan For You, a professional Bill Gates impersonator who tells him about a long-lost love that he wishes he had married many years ago. And based off of only knowing that she's from Arkansas and that her name is Francis, he ventures off to find this woman who has not spoken to this man in over 40 years, I believe. And it becomes this really amazing investigation documentary, character examination. Look at these really weird people and really weird interactions. It's some of the most hilarious human interactions that I've seen on screen all year, and it becomes magnified by the question of how real is all this, because he's constantly riding that line.
How real is it? Are the businesses real?
It seems to be that they're all real, but there's things that feel just unreal about it.
Because I've only seen 2.
Check up on some of these businesses, and they're fully functioning independent
Yeah, the yogurt
businesses.
one. I saw the yogurt one because he's got like 10-minute clips on YouTube. I saw the yogurt one, and I'm like, I searched it. I was like, yo, it's a real yogurt place. Why would they sell poop flavored ice cream? They don't make no sense to me. The antique shop where he's like, I got a way to boost sales. Bring in drunk people. If they break it, they buy it. I was like, what the heck? So that was my introduction to him. I found him there, and I was like, I don't know how real this is, wherever it is. And then I stumbled upon the Jimmy Kimmel interview.
Yes, that was... I mean, he's gone viral for a lot of different things, but that's one of the more insane...
he did what Joaquin Phoenix thought he was going to do successfully. Yes. You know what I'm talking about in that one movie.
The David Letterman.
With the David Letterman thing. Yeah, he did it successfully. But no, that's interesting. When you brought up that episode, so I do want to check it out, obviously, because I did. Yeah. I ended up going...
It should be available on demand if you have
it is on demand. So I just need to binge it. I like Review.
Yes.
Do you remember Review? I don't know if that's still going on. Yeah,
season 3 was the last one. That was this year.
Okay. I really like Review. That first season I thought was hysterical. But I'm really bad catching up with TV shows. But I did catch up with the whole first season of Review. I'm like, that's funny. The dude's reviewing life.
Yeah.
And then I saw this and I'm like, this is like in the same vein for me. And I'm like, this is funny. I like when Comedy Central does something like this. And it just sticks. And in my opinion, this guy stuck 4 seasons. What you had mentioned, I find really hilarious because there's a YouTuber. I'm blanking on his name right now. But if you remember the sketch, or if anyone listening remembers that sketch, Milk. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Milk. Why are you saying Milk weird? That guy. Did you hear what happened to this dude?
No, what happened?
Dude went off the deep end. Like, he was gone for like a year with no internet, and he came back. He was one of those guys where... He's making too much money, too much whatever on YouTube, and then he just loses his way and he gets bored. Pray we both get there one day, Zach.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait to get.
We hope.
Yeah, so he like went out like no internet or anything for like a year. But before that, because his channel was dying, he didn't have. I guess he just didn't have the spark anymore. He started a series, and people were like, "Is this real? Is this not?" Because he's married, he's got kids. Where he was looking for a girl, Anita or Ali, I forgot what her name was. He like had the thing. The whole joke was, "I never broke up with my kindergarten girlfriend," and he says her name. And he started a GoFundMe, and his fans contributed, and they end up finding this girl because he needed to break up with her so he wouldn't be cheating on his wife. And people were like, "Bro, what the heck are you doing?" And
This
it just
is creepy.
Yeah, that was creepy. And now you're mentioning this dude, and I feel like he did it right. Nathan seems to be taking these things and actually doing them right. So
yeah, well, I think a brilliant thing about what he does, and I've heard him talk about this in interviews, is that he says he goes into a situation with a person on his show, and he tries to assess, is this person going to be the crazy one, or am I going to have to be the crazy one? And it's great because he allows weird people to be weird without necessarily coaxing them into it, just lets them go off on and be weird in themselves. And if the person is normal, then he acts weird to sort of throw them off. It ends up being a pretty authentic form of representing these people, I feel like. I never really feel like he's manipulating people for evil.
Dude, I don't know if he's the one being manipulated.
People, but
does he act like this? Is he the one being used?
It's very hard to tell. He's a little bit Andy Kaufman-esque in that he seems to live his whole life in this bit.
Good bit.
It's a good bit. It's a very good bit. So, transitioning from Nathan for you, we want to talk about our favorite TV shows from 2017.
First of the three.
These are going to be talking about the most recent episodes, seasons, whatever it is, of these TV shows. So even though we may have loved a lot of what Game of Thrones is doing, it's likely not going to show up on either of lists based on its underwhelming seventh season. This is about the here and now. We're mixing up shows that are currently on the air with new shows and shows that are ending. So Art, if you've got your list ready, what is your fifth favorite show, and maybe some honorable mentions from 2017?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll preface it for those who are like the really TV nerds, because I'm looking at my position when I see someone make a movie list, and I'm like, you just went to the theater in July. Relax. Yeah. I'm not the biggest TV guy. It takes me forever to catch up. So Mr. Robot Season 2 and I believe 3. Fan of the first, but that's not going to be in here because I haven't seen it. The later seasons of Fargo, Handmaid's Tale, I've been hearing so much about.
Yeah.
Finishing up The Leftovers, Big Little Lies. Is that what we're on?
Yes.
I know you speak good things about it. Twin Peaks. Those shows are not on here. But be jealous because I'm going to be experiencing them for the first time, all right? They're not on here, but I did see some other ones. Honorable mentions, I would say Bojack Season 4. I thought was very good. Big Bojack fan. Favorite season, I want to say, is 3 so far. 2 has my favorite episode of all time, though. But 3, I think, has been the most solid one. I feel 4 is that one season where it's just like, it's really, really good. But we've expected greatness.
It feels like it needed to be a little bit of a transitional season.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Exactly.
Went through a pretty extreme few plot twists.
Let's see what else I got. Wet Hot American Summer, the second one. This is just a guilty pleasure. This should be on nobody's top 10 list for real. It's a guilty pleasure mainly because it's like I was thinking about it. I'm like, should I even mention it? I have to. The dedication on one of the jokes, and I'm gonna spoil it for you right here. And this is just done as pretty much trying to convince some of you who aren't fans to watch it. First of all, you don't need to see the movie or even the first series. You could go into this one if you want. You'll probably catch up on it.
Yeah, it's just a joke a minute and random comedy. It's hilarious.
Episode 1 has a dude. If you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's that dude from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He takes a nap. You've seen the series, right?
Yes.
He takes a nap. He's like, bro, look at this bunker. Everyone's like back over here. The joke is like they're way older than really what they're supposed to be. They're 40-something, 40-somethings playing 20-somethings.
Yeah, in the first series, they're 40-something-year-olds playing like 18-year-olds, and now they're playing like 28-year-olds.
the dude, they all get in and they're all looking at the bunk beds and stuff. They're like, oh, do you remember this? It was so much fun. And yeah, look at the notches over here, the girls that I did. Yeah, look at over here where all the girls that I did. Look at all the, yo, look at this bed where I took a lot of naps. And the dude goes and he takes a nap. Episode 5, he wakes up, and I just completely took me off. Like everything, the show continues there. In episode 5, a guy's like crying in the dorm and he wakes up. That is dedication. That was one of my probably favorite comedy show, because some of these aren't necessarily comedies. That would probably be my favorite comedy show. And last honorable mention before I get into number 5, Punisher. Punisher really surprised me.
Cool.
I want to say it was episode 11. There's a torture scene that happens. Out of all the ones, the Punisher was like, let's go. It felt like this is what he's been waiting for. You know, like when you see, what's his name, play Deadpool? And you're like, he's been waiting for this.
Yeah.
That's what...
John Bernthal.
Yeah, Shane has been waiting for. I loved every minute of it. I binged it in 2 days. I know you bingers... It's an overnight thing. For me, 2 days, that's pretty fast. And I loved it. But, onto my top 5. Mindhunters. I feel like the rewatchability to this is difficult. Not that it's not there, because it definitely is there with observing the people.
It tends to be hard with any of these denser shows. I would say the same thing for maybe my favorite show ever, The Wire. It's not an easy show to just sit there and rewatch.
I don't think so. I think very few shows. I feel like Breaking Bad is that one where you can catch it on TV and be like, I'll sit down and watch it. And Breaking Bad, some heavy stuff. The best parts about Mindhunter, as I'm explaining what's happening, I want to give you the reason why. It's the scenes with the serial killers. That's what makes it. The interaction between the two, or really the trio. I hate that a lot of people always dismay. And I'm forgetting her name right now. The girl from Fringe, the woman from Fringe. She's fantastic.
Is the actress's name, I think.
Besides defeating the cat scenes, which made absolutely no sense, she is like a staple within the trio in helping out. But what makes the show is every time that they're dealing with the serial killers, with Ed Kemper, the guy who plays him, if he is not nominated for an Emmy, I don't know how that works, but my man needs to get something.
Nomination coming for him.
It's a fantastic show. My favorite episode would probably be the principal one, because I felt like that one brought the most moral ambiguity on whether what the main character was doing was correct or not. And the way the show manipulates you, because they're also dealing with a dude with a foot fetish, is genius. And I loved it. Check it out on Netflix. So it's free, because I know some of you don't pay for Netflix.
Yeah, that is the David Fincher show. He directed the first 2 and the last 2 episodes of the first season. But it's a really interesting show. You know, I think similar kind of to his film Zodiac, in that it tries to get into the minds of these serial killers a little bit. Jonathan Groff is great in that show. So not in my top 5, but I would definitely recommend it.
Why didn't anyone tell me that's King George from Hamilton? Why didn't anyone tell me that's no? I didn't know it was the dude from Frozen either.
That dude is a Broadway legend already.
Everyone was complaining. They're like, why are they restraining him? I'm like, what are you doing? He looks fine. So what I learned from the show as well is that when you're so used to a character, a.k.a. Jim from The Office, it's very hard to see them differently.
Yeah.
And I guess you have to be super unbiased, because I saw nothing wrong with him, but obviously the more of a Broadway legend you are, the more difficult it is. Watch Mindhunters.
I mean, I think it's good that they have someone who's so capable so he can go to places with this character and take him beyond the straight-laced guy that we are introduced to at the beginning of that show.
But Zach, what's yours?
My number 5 is another Netflix show. I have a pretty strong feeling that both our lists are going to be Netflix heavy this year. There's a lot of great Netflix shows. My number 5 is Big Mouth. This is the animated show with John Mulaney and Nick Kroll as the central voices. Jesse Klein also plays Jesse on the show. It's a show that I was not really that excited about, thinking that it was going to be this like Family Guy does puberty show, like lots of quick, gross puberty jokes, but there's actually like a heart to it and an intelligence to it. There's a real sincerity to the way that they approach the hormonal adolescent drama of this show, and it's very funny. That, first and foremost, it is hysterical. Nick Kroll does several voices on the show. Maya Rudolph plays a female hormone monster. It's hysterical in every single episode. My favorite character is the Jenny Slate character, Missy, kind of a sort of weird nerd who has a much more has a side of her that she needs to get out through the hormone monster, shall we say. I would definitely check it out if you haven't on Netflix. It's a very easy watch, very funny show, and my 5th favorite of 2017.
What's your rebuttal for all the people who hate it? I only saw 3 episodes, and I know how it ends, and I love the ending bit. I really like the ending bit. I think it's very funny. But I have seen... But, like, big YouTubers, I Hate Everything, said he despised the show. I've seen other people talk about how they hate it. I was like, why y'all hate it this much?
I don't really get why so many people hate it. I mean, maybe if you're just tired of hormonal teenage kind of humor, I can see that. But I think there's a little bit more to it.
And I think they felt uncomfortable.
What?
I think it's because they felt uncomfortable.
That could be it too. Like, it is a very, very naughty show. Like, they make a joke towards the end of the series, like, this could be considered child pornography, and if it wasn't animated, it very well would be.
Yes.
But I mean, this isn't necessarily a show that I would recommend for kids, but for people who remember how they felt as kids, or people who remember the awkwardness of adolescence, it is hysterical. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit too much for you if you don't like your sex comedy raunchy, but this is very, very raunchy.
I'm gonna see if I can finish it. I'm gonna see if I can get past that episode of the Statue of Liberty when a girl has gone on her period and she uses it. Yeah, we'll see.
I dug that episode.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. Whatever you say.
All right, what's your number 4?
Glow. This is a series that caught me off guard, and I'm recognizing that Netflix, what the heck, you are the best. I mean, again, I have not seen the other ones that I mentioned, and they might have snuck them away in here. Glow, Netflix, y'all are doing things that I don't even know I wanted to see.
Yeah,
the gorgeous ladies of wrestling? I'm not watching that.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about things that are working against me. I wasn't a wrestling fan. I'm not against a show that's predominantly female, but it's definitely more of an obstacle to get me into it than a show that'd be predominantly male, I guess.
And would you have watched it if it wasn't on Netflix at your disposal? If it was a show on ABC that you have to like follow along with, you probably wouldn't, right?
I mean, maybe not, you know.
I'm being honest.
I mean, depends on the reviews is how I normally go, but Netflix definitely makes it easier.
So I watched this just because I was like, I gotta see it. I hear Alison Brie is really good at this show. So I catch her. She's very good right off the bat. And I'm like, okay. I went in there thinking that it was going to be... I know Alison Brie from Community. I know Alison Brie from, I forget the other movie, that Sleeping with Other People. I know her for that style. And while she still keeps that type of persona, I did not expect her to be, because usually she's the, how pretty Alison Brie is. When is Alison Brie going to finally get naked? When is,
she's together, very together a lot.
She allowed herself to get slapped in the face physically, but emotionally within the script. Are you pretty or you're not? I can't tell. I look at your face and it keeps switching. I was like, yo, she signed up for this. Like, I have never seen, I mean, I have, but in a show repeatedly for someone to sign on as the lead, and the lead is just made fun of over and over and over and over and over again. But the beauty of it is how her character embraces it. And I'm like, this is dope. How she plays the villain. It's fantastic. Great ensemble cast. Great performances, not only the physically, but I would say my favorite episode was, I'm struggling between because one is a specific scene, a specific reveal that happens. You know what I'm talking about. Towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
I was like, that's jacked up. It would probably be the episode where they go to the dude's house and the dude who's like super rich.
Yeah.
Because that's the episode where, I don't want to spoil it too much, but another character has to come in to be the star, and she doesn't really want to be the star. I don't know. It's a very interesting show. I don't know how much of it is real, story-wise, but it's definitely worth watching.
It is based on a real ladies wrestling league from the 80s, a real television show. And there is a documentary on Netflix that details the real story of Glow. I haven't seen that, so I can't really tell you. I think it's highly fictionalized here. I don't really care because, like you, I think it's one of the most entertaining shows of the year. It's not in my top 5, but it's just a very fun show. And past Alison Brie, it's just an amazing ensemble. Betty Gilpin, who plays Liberty Bell, the sort of hero of the Glow
she's dope.
League, is very good in it. Mark Maron as the director of Glow. It's a great performance from him. Just bringing this pathos to this like down and out guy who's lonely and getting a bit older.
He's good at that.
He's really, really good at that. But this is maybe the best I've seen him at that.
1000%. Go ahead.
I think you're Easy, which is probably where you were going to mention.
That's exactly where I was going. I saw him on Easy when he comes up. I was like, this dude is a miserable piece of. And I look over here and I'm like, he is miserable, but I like him more over here on this side. I like him just a bit more.
Directors have found a really great way to utilize that like anger and gruff older dude presence that Mark Maron brings to his podcast.
It's like two shades to it too. Oh yeah, and I know him because of the podcast as well. He's like super big. You just search a podcast, the dude pops up. But I found that to be super interesting. It's a similar type of character, yet drastically different.
Yeah. So I love Glow. I just actually binged basically the whole series on New Year's Day. So it's fresh in my mind. Episode 6, there's like a subtle thing going on where throughout the episode they keep making mention of how everybody in the Glow crew is on their period, and it just keeps coming up in these minor ways, which I thought was pretty funny. And it's just stuff like that where there's details to it. You know, every character feels lived in and real, and there's layers to them. So Glow is one of my favorite shows of the year as well. My number 4, we were just talking about it, Easy. Season 2 recently popped up on Netflix, so it's a bit fresh in my mind, but this is the show from Joe Swanberg that follows different adults in conflicts in their adult lives, marital lives, relationship lives, whatever it is. And it did an interesting thing this season in that the first season followed 8 different storylines. Yeah. And this second season picked back up where a lot of those left off. It reintroduced us to a lot of characters. Mark Maron is back, for example, and his character is back.
Are our beer buddies back?
The beer buddies are back, yes.
Okay, good. Because that was my favorite storyline.
Yeah, no, and it's cool because you get to see these characters sort of at a slightly different point in their lives. The storylines are all different-ish. Like, it's not that they it's not like an anthology where they've wiped the slate clean, but a year has progressed, time has moved forward, these people are at a different place in their lives and they're worried about different things. And it's interesting. I mean, I might be getting ahead of myself considering there are only 2 seasons in, but it almost makes me feel like this could be like a adult version of Boyhood if you put together a few seasons of this where we keep checking in on these characters and see how their relations develop. But
I wouldn't say Boyhood. I would say Midnight, Sunrise.
Oh, before Sunrise, before Sunset? Yeah, absolutely. That's probably
so
a better
many characters, so many characters to like make sure they don't die.
and they do a really interesting job of interweaving some of these characters too. You know,
I like that.
They cross ways in places that you wouldn't necessarily expect. There's a couple episodes that I really loved. Episode 6 just felt like it resonated with a lot of the things that I feel in my life. Episode 8 was really touching, an episode about getting older and wanting children, but not being in a place where you're ready for it. It's, you know, there's a very subtle way they do these storylines where they're not beating you over the head with the themes of it. Joe Swanberg comes from the Mumblecore school of filmmaking that's unscripted and based on outlines, so the dialogue all just sounds like people talking because it pretty much is people talking.
But it works in this one. You know me.
Yeah, you're not someone who is in love with the Mumblecore style or Joe Swanberg.
But I like season 1. That's what kept me so far from watching it, and then I did because I'm like, I knew you liked the first season, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna check it out. Binged it in a day.
It's so good. It's so good. It's like,
are the other ones that good? Did I miss it? Do I need to go watch Drinking Buddies again?
You might have to.
Did I miss?
Like, there's something about his style does work really good in these bite-sized half an hour.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is because
he does do these very small stories. Like Happy Christmas is a movie that I enjoyed a lot, and it's like 70-ish minutes long, but there's basically nothing that happens in it, and I think maybe it would have worked better as an episode of Easy if you just cut down a lot of the extraneous details and make it about that core conflict of this Anna Kendrick character who's refusing to take responsibility.
I think you hit it. It's 100%. I think what he does works so much better in an ongoing series and in bite-sized pieces, as opposed to you see a movie and you're like, that's it, and there's nothing else. Here with different seasons, it's like, oh, that's it. But they feel lived in, and it was in a more moderate, contained story. And like you said, I really like the idea. I haven't seen season 2 yet. I only saw 1. To come back with them was easy season 1 last year?
Yes.
So you're saying like a yearly thing?
Yeah, or something like that would be cool.
I think that would be really interesting. Do you think it's better than season 1?
I actually do. I think this season is a little bit more considered. It's a little bit more varied. Season 1 was very sex focused, which I think is cool, but this goes beyond that into parenting, into aging, into dividing up responsibilities in an adult relationship. It's just very, very, I think it's very considered and touches on a lot of things that not a lot of drama today touches on. You know, I think we have things that talk about sex and we have things that talk about love, but this is about the subtleties that kind of get in the way of some relationships. Sometimes. And I think Easy's really commendable for focusing on that and making it dramatically satisfying. So I hope people check it out. It's on Netflix now, Easy Season 2.
I recommend the first season, so if you say season 2, then most definitely.
Art, what's your number 3?
Number 3. It's 3 words. It was a movie. I want to see if you can guess it. It was a movie. Netflix picked it up as a series. Got a lot of flack. I said, I'm ready to rip this thing apart before I even watch it, but I'm going to give it a chance. Do you know what it is?
Is this from a certain Spike Lee?
No, it is not that one.
Because that was going to be surprising to me.
Oh, absolutely not.
I remember which one this is.
You know what it is. Go ahead. My number 3 is Dear White People. I am surprised, just as many other people are. But if there's one thing that I will tell you about not only our list, but this pick in general, watch something before you judge it. I thought I was going to hate this because, you know what? I saw the movie, the Sundance selection, Dear White People. I didn't like the movie. I don't like the movie at all. I don't like the performances. I don't like the style of it. Either it works better as a series, or he just learned to focus things a bit differently, which I feel he did both. I think it works better as a series, and I think the way that he decided to retell the story, not be as in your face, Black Pride type of thing. A lot of people think it's that. If you know anything about me, you would know I don't mess with that at all. And the show does dabble on there, but it dabbles on both sides a lot more than the title would lead you to believe. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, why didn't they change the title? Because you wouldn't be talking about it if they did. I know, trust me, I agree. Swap out white for black, even bigger controversy. Like, I get that. I'm judging the show for the show itself, and I thought the performances were great. There were scenes that had me laughing. Everyone talked about episode 5. Episode 5 is tense. That's the Barry Jenkins directed episode. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
It is one of the shows that surprised me the most out of this list. It is the show that's one of these shows that surprised me the most. And I was just, the way that it balanced the conversation that it's trying to bring. It's kind of like when people see on the recommended "I'm not racist," the video, you know what I mean? And you got like a dude with a Trump hat on there, and people are like, really? And they won't click it. Or they do click it, but they're only seeing that first minute of it where a white dude mouths the N-word. It's like, but if you sat through the whole thing, you would see a little bit more of a nuanced thing. And just like that video, of course, it's going to be a little more biased to the POC perspective. But that's the purpose of it.
Yeah. And it comes from a black director in Justin Simien, so of course it would come from a bit of his perspective.
Obviously.
But it's definitely something that is more even-handed than I think a lot of people on the internet are giving it credit for.
Because they haven't seen it.
Yeah, and it's, you're saying how you enjoyed it more in a series form than as opposed to a movie. And I wonder how much of that is that some of these issues are just so big and widespread that there's a conclusiveness to a movie. It's like, I've talked about it and now I'm done talking about it. And even though the season's over, We don't know if there's going to be more Dear White People. I think it was renewed for a second season, but you watch it and you're not sure. There's just an open-endedness to the way that television feels more like a discussion than movies do, and it feels like a better format for addressing these types of issues, getting the different perspectives.
No, 1000%.
Doing an episode from the white guy's perspective on the show Dear White People.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people think that this is a show about black people telling white people what to do because that's what the title says. A lot of it is directed to black people.
Yeah.
A lot of the show is directed to black people saying, they ain't gonna listen to you if you keep talking. Like, one of the most interesting ways to sum it up is, like, when people call other people racist? Like, you're a racist. Let's think about that logic for a second. What is that going to do if they're actually racist? You're saying that person hates people of color. Then they don't care if you insult them. Let's think about that for a second. It's like at a certain point they tell you it's like you got to learn the perspective to come at it because you're asking for a certain perspective for them to come towards you. I thought it was a lot more balanced than I thought it was going to be. The beauty of it is that I know that the movie was made because the director, he's gay and he's dating a white dude, and he did it. I don't know if they're married, but they were dating when the movie came out, and he did the movie as an act of love for him. So it's so funny to see everything else that happened because of it. Of course, it's because of the name, and he said it too. He's like, I know. I will take full responsibility for the name. But y'all wouldn't be talking about it
for that name.
Give it a chance. I think it's definitely worth it. Episode 5 was insane. There is an episode from the white guy's perspective. It's funny. They cut, break the fourth wall all the time. Just give it a shot.
Cool. Great show. Made my top 12, but it wasn't in my top 5.
Then what's your top 3, boy?
My number 3 is the only show on my top 5 that's not a Netflix show, oddly. It is NBC's The Good Place. I'm giving it a season 1.5, season 2A sort of designation because we got the amazing season 1 finale in 2017, and then the show picked up again and has been excellent in season 2 thus far. Yeah, well, it did, TV seasons start in September and finish in April, so...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Weird.
Is that how TV works?
But yeah, so this is the Mike Schur show that stars Kristen Bell, Ted Danson, and a lot of very other funny people.
Heard great things.
Takes place in a sort of heaven-like place called The Good Place. And it's supposed to be where all the good people go, only Eleanor might not be so good. It starts as a really interesting comedy that sort of examines what goodness is, and it goes much more further, much more meta. In its second season, it's become just one of the most funny things on TV, giving you joke per minute and just hiding jokes in the details in the way that my favorite comedies do.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil the season 1 finale, but it is the greatest single season finale of a comedy that I maybe have ever seen.
I'm going to put it to you this way. My girlfriend saw the show, and I was like, why are you watching that show? I'm looking at the cover, I'm like, this ain't for me. I mean, watching Drop Dead Diva, NBC's version of it. I'm like, no. She's like, no, but the ending's really good. I'm like, go ahead, spoil the ending for me. I regret not experiencing it myself. I will put it to you that way.
Yeah.
I will put it to you that way.
Really, really clever. And Mike Schur is also the guy who did Parks and Recreation. He created Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He did many episodes of The Office. He was Mose on The Office, if you remember Cousin Mose on Dwight's farm.
With all the beautiful daughters?
Yeah. Well, Mose is Mike Schur. Yeah. So if you're a fan of any of those shows, you'd probably like The Good Place. It's the latest from Mike Schur. It's on NBC, but you can watch the first season on Netflix and the second season on demand now.
I might just for the jokes of it. But yeah, the ending's really, really good. From when
Art, your number 2?
My number 2 is the second best show. It could be number 1, but something else came up. If y'all haven't seen Ozark, y'all need to stop, pause the intercut. Please come back and watch the rest of it. Pause the intercut. Go watch Ozark. Ozark. I can't call it the new Breaking Bad, right? But it's the Breaking Bad for Netflix. It definitely wants to be, and at a certain point, that's what everyone kept calling it, and I saw it, and I know we had a discussion about Ozark, and I know how you saw it a certain way. I do feel that if it wasn't this is one of the shows where I feel binging kind of hurts it. I think giving it a little time in between episodes because of just how much weight each episode holds would have been better. You know, I feel like shows like Lost, I feel several shows, HBO shows, I think they need that breathing room of a week.
Yeah.
This one, however, is all there at your disposal. And for like a lot of people who saw Breaking Bad, they caught up through Netflix. Absolutely, you'll love this show. I was looking, I was like, all right, when are they going to drop? And there are points where I wish they had a little bit more subtlety. You know, there's some interactions between Jason Bateman and his wife. There's some things with Jason Bateman in general. It's very interesting to see him in this role because, again, he is another person where I'm like, you're the smart aleck. You're always a smart. And they use it to his advantage. They use the sense that you know he's a smart aleck into like, okay, he knows how to get out of this situation.
Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting move for a guy like Jason Bateman, who we know so much from his comedic work and stuff like Arrested Development. He even directed a few episodes. He directed, I think, even the pilot.
The first one. Yeah, he directed the first one.
So this is a very intentional decision to kind of cast him in this different light where, you know, he may not seem like a guy who's well-suited to be dealing with a cartel, but as you progress with Ozark, you realize more and more just how well-suited he is and just how ready he is and how willing he is. And
you don't got a choice sometimes.
It's got some Breaking Bad vibes to it in the way that it's about how a regular man sort of falls into this criminal world basically out of a lack of options, and how sometimes it's not so much the lack of options as it is the allure of the world too.
Yeah, like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've disparagingly, I've jokingly called it B- Breaking Bad just because I like the alliteration of it.
Yeah.
But there's different things to Ozark, and it's much more family oriented than Breaking Bad was in certain moments.
No,
Breaking Bad
completely.
relied on the guilt of the Skyler and Walter association, but this is. The whole family becomes involved in a way that
the kids are fantastic.
Yeah, kids are really good. Laura Linney, I think, plays the wife.
Yes.
She's a great actress doing a really good job on that show. So I'm curious to see what Ozark is like in its second season because I enjoyed the first as well.
Yeah, I have no idea where they're going to go because that finale, I'm going to say my favorite episode. I'm just going to put the finale because a lot of things happen in that finale. You watch it again and you're like, it shouldn't have worked out this way. But you're like, bro, y'all just messed everything up and now everything's worse.
Yeah.
We're about to get Sicario season 2 on the next one. It is definitely worth it. Binge it and watch it. I don't know how this is not your number 2, Zach. Your number 2 better be better than Ozark.
My number 2 is really good. I know you like it. You mentioned it in your honorable mentions. It's Bojack Horseman season 4.
Okay.
This show is just consistently one of my favorites. I think that Bojack is an amazingly complex show in that it's hilariously funny and has the best animal puns out of any show on TV, but is also the best examination of depression and mental illness and just like so many amazingly deep, complex questions. I love how dark the show can get and remain entertaining. I love the performances from the voice cast with Will Arnett, Alison Brie, Amy Sedaris, Aaron Paul, Paul F. Tompkins, all are hilarious. And Raphael Bob Waskberg is just an amazingly intelligent writer. We've talked about Jack a lot on this show, so I don't want to get too deep into it.
We mention it all the time.
Season 4 is my least favorite of the 4 seasons, and it's still my second
favorite.
No.
Yes, that's what we're saying. Like, the worst is better than some people's best.
The worst is still amazing. The worst is still extremely thoughtful and extremely thought-provoking. It's almost feels like cliche to say that the best episode was the penultimate episode because penultimate
it always is.
Are always great episodes on Bojack, but
that's how
this one in particular was the Alzheimer's one, Time's Arrow, where we see sort of the perspective from Bojack's mom's point of view, where she's slipping in and out of time and in and out of memory and modern life.
How do they do it?
How
do they always come up with new ways to narratively tell a story?
The way they challenge themselves on that show, you know, when you could very easily make a much easier version of that show.
You can.
And that's what I was worried it would be when I first was introduced to the show. But they always find a clever innovative way to tell their story. Other than that episode, I really love the episode "Stupid Piece of Shit," the one that involves a lot of his internal monologue and the kind of like sketchy.
Were you just repeating it over and over?
Yeah, it's a very good episode from a great season of Netflix's best show, Bojack Horseman. Make sure you catch up with that if you haven't already.
No, I'm interested. You say it's the best show. Are you telling me that your number one isn't a Netflix original series?
I'm telling you that my number one is the best show of the year, but not the best show Netflix has ever produced.
American Vandal is the best show of 2017. There's absolutely no doubt about it, okay? No. That's the way that it goes. American Vandal, if you have not seen this series, is hands down the best, one of the best. If I could put it in my top 10 movies, if I just switched that list into top stories of the year that were told, it is this show. Yeah. The only thing hindering it is the absurdity of what it's about. A vandal vandalizes school property.
Make it even better?
Doesn't
it make it that much better?
Yes, it does. To us. But I hate that there are people who will not be able to look past that. That's what I hate.
It's hard to recommend this show. I will give you that. Like, it's weird to tell somebody, okay, I want you to watch the show that's about 27 spray painted dicks. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like a weird sell, especially to my parents. But like,
that's
it's
what I'm
so
talking about.
Brilliant. It's so brilliant in the way that it like subverts the way that we have these shows like Making a Murderer or Serial, all these true crime examinations, and becomes about this very seemingly silly event in someone spray painting all the teachers' cars in the teachers' parking lot with red gigantic dicks.
I love the beauty of it. It looked like it has the production of a Netflix, Netflix's best, but it feels like a YouTube video. And what I mean by that is you guys know what a YouTube video feels. You feel connected to it. It feels raw. It feels
personal.
Yeah. It's the people from Funny or Die, I believe, are the ones who actually, and this one is funny. You'll die laughing maybe from it. This one actually delivers, and they're the ones who made this thing. It's all done in a documentary style, from the perspective of the fictional character who is just trying to get down to the truth of, did this kid who everyone is blaming, is he guilty, or is there something else going on from the school? And that alone, if you've seen any procedurals, which I know is like 95% of you, this does it amazingly well. For those of you who love comedy, the comedy in this is fantastic. Dylan McDermott, is that his, or am I thinking of someone completely different? That is a completely different actor. Dylan is the guy's name.
Yeah.
Dylan, who is the dude who everyone's blaming. There's a scene in the first couple of episodes where he starts working for Postmates, and he eats the fries. It's stuff that's right up my alley in terms of comedy.
We talked about this earlier, and we talk about this all the time when shows are so concerned about the small details. And this is a show that is very, very into these small details, much. Down to like what people are wearing.
The hairs on a
the ball hairs. What about the ball hairs?
It's so good. I know it sounds like a joke. I know it really sounds like a joke, and this is what I'm talking about. It deserves to be up there with Handmaid's Tale. It deserves to be up there with Game of Thrones. It really does, because the ending you think is going to hit you with something, and they do answer it. I honestly, truly believe, and I don't even want to call them theories. I want to call them like straight up the clues that they left you there for to solve. Yeah.
Anybody who thinks they didn't tell you who drew the dicks,
they told you.
They're not watching.
1,000. Yeah, you need to pay attention. And they're like, no, we answered that question for you. So let me hit you with this uppercut over here, and you're like, whoa, a message?
Yeah, that's the thing, though. It's the show is smarter than just giving you a fun answer and making it about the funniest way to end the show. Like, there's actually some real gravitas here. It has some commentary on high school culture. It has some commentary on the way that high school sets us up for the rest of our lives, and that your path can be predetermined
1000%.
by some childish actions from before you're fully grown. Like, this is a show that shows how it's not just high school, it's life.
It's life.
It's life, and it's the system around us.
If the best show about suicide and depression and being full grown has to be an animation about a talking horse, then the best show about youth and growing up and what you're going to become because of what society tells you is a show about drawn dicks with ball hair. On Netflix. Watch it.
I mean, that's the beauty of Netflix, right? You can do shows like Big Mouth and American Vandal where you can draw dicks and make some great art in the process.
It's fantastic. Best episode, I can't remember what it is. I want to say it's like 8. They get so deep into collecting Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook footage, all this footage to find a spray can.
Oh,
man. It is one of the best scenes of episodes of television
it's
ever watch.
And talk about another way that show is like funny in a subtle way. The way that they're obsessed with this party being the kids who weren't invited to this party, like that is so on. You know those kids.
Yes,
who
those kids
way too much about those things. It's so detailed, and the
technical
characterization is so perfect.
It's good.
That's a really great episode. I was going to say my favorite episode, although now that you're mentioning it, I love that sequence. Might be, I think it's episode 4. The first episode after they publish the beginning of American Vandal, and they
the
start
theories
dealing with
and
the
everything,
fan
and
theories.
that was cool too.
Kraz did it, and
that
all
was
that stuff.
really cool.
Yeah,
the way they embrace it in the show, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it again, going into how the show is smart, like it deals with the fact that these shows have reverberations in real life. You know, that people listen to Serial and then try to become the detectives behind it. It's an incredibly intelligent show. I loved it. I'm glad you loved it too. It's both of our number ones of the year.
I told you, dude.
Yeah.
American Vandal. Check it out.
Yeah. I didn't mention my honorable mentions earlier, but Big Little
Mention right
Lies is one that I enjoyed a lot.
Definitely want
it's
to get on
6
there.
on my list. Search Party Season 2. I think this is a really underrated show on TBS. I love the first season. Season 2 is really interesting as well. I don't want to give away too much because it's another, you should save the spoilers and kind of just experience that show because it's actually got a really good mystery at the center of it. Stranger Things 2 was fun. Master of None Season 2, I loved some episodes, liked others. And like you, I was a big fan of Glow.
Yes, all good stuff. Good year for TV. Always a good year for TV recently. Everything's fantastic. It just keeps growing.
It's just hard to keep up with all the different good shows that are on.